Why peasants feared going to the fields at midday? Why the spirits are considered some of the saddest monsters in the witchy world? A thin figure standing among the fields, slow movement in the wind, but the closer someone gets, the more her appearance begins to change. Her skin becomes unnaturally pale, her face grows too thin, her movements become broken and unnatural, and one of the most horrifying details, her long tongue. A Noonwraith can suddenly open her mouth unnaturally wide, and then you see her elongated mouth, a long tongue, and distorted facial features. It creates the feeling that the human appearance is only a mask. And this becomes even more terrifying because of the way she moves. A Noonwraith doesn't walk like a human. She jerks suddenly, glides, sometimes seems to float about the ground. That is why she feels less like a living being and more like an unnatural ghost that should not exist. A Noonwraith is a type of a spectre, but unlike ordinary spirits, it is bound to a specific place, usually fields, villages, places of death. Most often, a Noonwraith is created from a woman who died violently before her wedding because of betrayal or from severe emotional trauma. After death, her spirit does not move on. It remains and slowly transforms into something dangerous. Outwardly, a Noonwraith appears as a young woman in a pale dress with long hair, pale skin, and unnaturally calm movements. But the closer someone gets, the stronger the feeling becomes that this is no longer human. The Noonwraith is one of the most distinctly Slavic monsters in all the Witcher. In Slavic folklore, there was a spirit known as the Lady Midday. People believed she appeared at noon among the fields during intense heat. They believed she could drive travelers mad, cause heat stroke, make people lose their way, or kill them directly in the wheat fields. Because of this, peasants avoided working in the fields during the hottest part of the day. A Noonwraith is almost always connected to tragedy, most often murder, jealousy, betrayal, unhappy love, violence, death before marriages. After death, powerful emotions like pain, hatred, fear, despair prevent the spirit from moving on. That is how Noonwraith is created. Which is why witchers try often to uncover the ghost story first, because without understanding the cause, it is impossible to understand the monster itself. Noonwraith are almost always tied to fields, especially old farmlands, abandoned villages, areas near windmills, places where tragedies occurred. And the imagery itself matters. In The Witcher, a field is not simply a workplace. It is a symbol of life, food, human labor. And when the field itself becomes a place of death, something unnatural is born. That is why scenes involving Noonwraith feel so atmospheric. A white figure standing among golden wheat looks beautiful, peaceful, and terrifying at the same time. A Noonwraith rarely attacks like an ordinary monster. It acts differently: heat and exhaustion. In many stories, people near a Noonwraith lose strength, feel weak, begin struggling to breathe, lose their sense of direction, see hallucinations, as though the heat itself has become a part of creature. Victims hear voices, see silhouettes, become lost among the fields. That is why people feared remaining alone in the wheat fields for centuries. In some legends, the Noonwraith spins in circles, moves along like dancing, approaches slowly, and then suddenly attacks. And this creates a deeply unsettling feeling. She does not resemble a predator. She resembles a ghost of an old tragedy, endlessly reliving her own death. Physically, a Noonwraith is not always stronger than the other monsters, but her danger lies elsewhere. She appears suddenly, especially at noon. She affects the mind. The victim may not even realize what is happening. She is tied to the environment. The field itself becomes a part of the monster. She is a ghost, meaning unordinary weapons are nearly useless. And most terrifying of all, a Noonwraith often looks like an ordinary woman, until the moment she attacks. In The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Noonwraith become some of the most atmospheric spirits in the series, especially because of the music and environmental design. During encounters, the wind grows stronger, the field begins to move. A feeling of heat and anxiety fills in the air. The Noonwraith herself vanishes, reappears, moves almost unrealistically. That is what makes battles with them so memorable. You do not feel like you are fighting a monster. You feel like you have encountered a death that was never able to end. The Noonwraith perfectly demonstrates what separates The Witcher from ordinary fantasy. Because this is not simply an enemy. It is tragedy, memory, pain, and human cruelty transformed into a monster. That is why Witchers often treat such spirits differently. Sometimes they try to understand the cause, lift the curse, help the spirit to move on, because behind the monster there is still a human being. There are monsters far more terrifying physically, but the Noonwraith inspires a different kind of fear. It reminds us of another side of the continent, a world where monsters are not always born from magic, but from pain so deep that even death could not erase it.